Màgòdiz, written by Gabe Calderón and narrated by Everett Rain. Chapter 1. Andwanikadjigan. Hadagwewinu tossed and turned, unable to rest. Her breath came in short gasps and sweat beaded her brow. She quietly got up from her pallet on the floor so as not to disturb the bed's other occupant. In the adjacent room, Hadagwewinu perched inside a hole in the wall large enough to fit her comfortably. The air was stiff and hot, no wind from the opening to soothe her blistering skin. The sky outside glowed orange, a dull light emanating from the center of her field of vision. The sky was always orange and gray, dim and grim. Sometimes the light was brighter, other times it vanished completely. Regardless, it was always hard to see. The landscape that greeted her was barren, rocks and burnt-out stumps, rotting bushes, rusted metal and crumbling buildings, sand and ash and dust thickening the air. She looked down at her arm, her skin bronzed and grimy, and softly rubbed the markings there. Fresh scratches, a pattern from a merchant who'd told her a story his grandfather had passed on to him. She felt fingers gently touching the nape of her neck. Her lover Belle murmured in her ear, "Nanichi, when did these markings happen?" "This morning." Belle gripped Hadagwewinu with her strong hands and turned her around. Hadagwewinu looked into Belle's warm, immeasurably deep eyes, effervescent hazel irises, and watched her soft dark lips form a quiet smile. "Do you want to hear the story?" Hadagwewinu asked. A nod. Belle held her hand, her fingers calloused from fighting. She tugged Hadagwewinu away from the harsh sky and arid air, back to the protection of their little pallet nest. "You do it," Hadagwewinu whispered, holding out her arm. Belle looked at her solemnly, then turned her attention to the fresh markings. She pressed them, transmitting the need to listen and to learn. The markings triggered and sent a cold snap through Hadagwewinu's head. For a moment, everything was silent. Suddenly, she felt word after word barraging her senses, a flood preparing to burst forth. She took a deep breath and opened her mouth. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. She shared the story as she'd heard it, word for word. Afterward, she slipped into a peaceful slumber in her lover's arms. Hadagwewinu sat under the metal overhang near the outskirts of the village. It was her own little place, only those closest to her knew about it. She fiddled with the hem of her ribbon shirt. The frayed edges tickled the nerve endings under her fingernails. Footsteps then. Hadagwewinu looked up and saw her mother approaching. "Kwe na mama," she said as her mother sat down next to her. "Kwe." They were silent for a moment, staring out at the calcified stumps and bushes smattering the dappled gray hills around them. "The seconds made fun of Nokomis's shirt. They said I'm weird because I'm an 8th, but I always make myself look like a 1st. So then why was I wearing second's clothes? They said something was wrong with me. And maybe they're right. Maybe no matter how hard I try, I'll never be right." She bit out the words. Her mother crooned as she gently held Hadagwewinu's face in her hands. Before this world lost its way, people still carried their stories in objects and not on their bodies. When the Madjideye destroyed that world, Gichimani-Do chose the Andwanikadjigan nation to become the marked ones, so the stories of the people would never die. To be chosen by Gichimani-Do to be a storyteller is a humbling honor, Winu. When you were born, not only were you a storyteller, but Ayakweo too. Kokomis held you in his arms, and he looked at me with tears running down his face. He had been waiting his whole life for another Ayakweo like him, and there you were. You are a gift, Winu, and people are often jealous of gifts that are not for them. Hadagwewinu threw her arms around her mother and clutched her tightly. For a moment, all was calm. The wind gently caressed their
Sample complete. Ready to continue?